hand for hanging around while I finished upstairs. Well, how long does it take you to earn a reputation for being somebody who has integrity? I know it takes a long time, sometimes even a lifetime, to develop a reputation. Lose a good reputation. Just a trait in Christianity is integrity. Throughout the Bible, you'll find all kinds of words that are like the word integrity, like honesty and purity and truthfulness and being upright. Those are words like integrity. We get our word integrity from the Hebrew word thaman. And thaman it has an idea of completeness. In mathematics in Hebrew, it is the root word also for integer, which is like integrity. In mathematics, the word integer is the word for a whole number. To be whole people, we have to have integrity. Ago, there was a book published here in the United States entitled "The Day America Told the Truth." And in that book, and it was done anonymously, so nobody knew what the answers were, we found out some very startling things about most Americans. And the first thing that they found out in that study is in the United States anymore, there's no moral authority. Americans, by and large, today make up their own rules as to what's right and wrong. And only 13% of Americans 20 years ago said that they believed that the 10 Commandments were right. 30% said that they did believe in 5 of them. And the dangerous thing in our world today is people are choosing for themselves what they think is right instead of listening to what God says is right. Some Americans, but do not lose your faith in the 10 Commandments. The thing that study found is that Americans aren't very honest. That study said that lying had become a part of American culture, a trait of American character. Fortunately, what's happening in our world today is quite often we lie and don't even think about it and have no reason for it. Now, here's a scary statistic. 91% of people in the world lie regularly. And by the way, we probably do a little bit of lying at times ourselves, right? My wife puts on a dress or a pair of pants and says, "Does this make my backside look big?" I always lie to her and say, "No, it doesn't." The policeman stops you and he says, "Do you know why I stopped you?" No. Don't really say, "No, I have no idea." "No, you were speeding." The thing that study also found about the United States is that marriage and family are no longer sacred institutions. Far too many people are not faithful to their spouses. The fourth thing that the study found was that the time when we did an honest day's work for an honest day's pay is gone from many people in the workplace. Now, while it would be my belief that Kachins know how to work, in enough time around American workers, you will figure out how to goof off. Do not be an American worker. And the authors finished up their study by saying that we have a new set of commandments. The first commandment, I hear teenagers say all the time, is, well, everybody else is doing it. And while everybody else may be doing it, God expects we believers to have lives of integrity. While those are the things we know about the culture, I ask you this question today, and you should ask yourself, am I living a life of integrity? I need to make changes that will make me whole and complete and a person who tells the truth all the time. I'm going to give you several scriptures, but I want to start with a very small scripture, and it is found in Matthew chapter 16, verse 26. And it says, "What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul?" Now, the first question is, where am I getting my values? Am I getting the things that I believe? Getting them from someplace. And that's an important question because where I get my beliefs determines how valuable they are to me. Are TV shows a good place to get your beliefs? Yes or no? No. Is the newspaper a good place to get your beliefs? Are your neighbors a good place to get your beliefs? But consider this. The average American will spend 1,200 hours in 2017 watching television. From all of my friends that I follow on Facebook, a lot of hours on Facebook. Now reading the kachin that you write under your Facebook posts, I might not understand it, but I understand your pictures very well. If the statistic about TV is true, now my guess is maybe you don't watch 1,200 hours of TV. I know you post 1,200 hours of videos on Facebook though. But if you did that every year for until you were 65 years old, you will have spent 18 years, 12 hours a day, 365 days a year until you're age 65. That's how long the average person will watch television in their lifetime. If you go to church every Sunday from now until, from your age, 18, 19, 20, hey now, 20, from 20 until you have to go to 67, because I figured 18 when I was doing the math. But if you go to church every Sunday from now until you're 67 years old, you will only spend a total of 8 months receiving spiritual teaching. Into account, you guys have longer church than we do upstairs. If we spend all this time watching TV or reading on Facebook, and it's 18 years of our life between 20 and 67, and only 8 months, where do you think we are getting most of our information? If we are not careful, it is very easy for us to end up adopting this culture's view of what is right and what is wrong. So with all of those things we do in a much larger portion than our time that we spend in church, that tells us that we are more likely to adopt the values of the world instead of the values of the Bible, and we have to guard against that. There are 3 words that describe the values of this world. The first word is pleasure. Do any of you know what the #1 industry in the United States is? Not fast food, and they're everywhere. The #1 industry in the United States of America is the entertainment industry. Movies, those kind of things. And you include in that football, basketball, baseball, all of the entertainment that is in this world. That is the first thing and the reason it's #1 is because it appeals to our pleasure. The second word that tells you what the values of this culture are and this world are, and it's possessions. We like to show off our things, don't we? And the third word that characterizes the beliefs and values of our culture is prestige. Be important. And we look at those 3 things. We look at pleasure, possessions, and prestige, and whether you realize it or not, my friends, those 3 things are very important to all of us. So make sure, #1, you determine where does your values and your beliefs come from, and make sure that they are correct. The second thing that we must do is determine what is really important in our lives. Chapter 34, verse 4 tells us that we should choose to follow what is right, but first you must define what is good. Assignment when you go home today. When you get home, take out a piece of paper and a pencil and write down the 10 most important things to you in your life and prioritize them 1 to 10. Now, you can be honest, because I'm not going to ask you to show it to anybody else. Don't even show it to your wife and husband. But it is vitally important for all of us to decide or to be honest and say, these are the things that are most important to me in my life. And make another list of 10 that says, These are my most important beliefs. Now, I think this is vitally important for a couple of reasons. And the first reason I think it's important to do this is for us to realize something. Your beliefs, you probably didn't really choose your beliefs. Assimilated them. And what I mean, probably believe what your parents believed. You probably believe what you were taught by your teacher. You probably believe what your pastors have told you without really thinking about it. I tell you, you can trust me because I wouldn't lie to you, but I would question June. What I'm trying to say here is that most of our values, most of our beliefs, we get them from someplace else than really sitting down and making a list and saying, this is what I value. As long as everything is cruising along in life like the cruise control on your car, well, when there's nothing in the way, cruising down the road works. Or something comes in your way, that's when you find out what you really believe. You've never really made, where you can see it, a list of what you believe. When tough times happen, it is very easy to fall away from what you believe. The third thing that I think we need to do after we determine what is important is then to make a decision whether there is something in my life that needs to be changed. Let me tell you, when I did this exercise years ago, it changed my whole life. I took that list of the things that were important to me and the 10 things I believed. Then I asked myself, does my life live up to those things? And things in priority, and am I acting in my life according to my beliefs? Let me ask you this question, and I want you to holler it out, and he'll tell me, or in English if you want me to understand. What do you think, statistically, is the #1 cause of stress for people in the United States today? School? That's not it either. What? Sport? That's not it. See, I could stand here all day and you probably would never come up with it. But you know, the biggest stressor in my life is my wife. And by the way, we jokingly say that, but the #1 cause of stress in our lives are our relationships. And I bet you that if you made a list of the 10 most important things to you, that family might be pretty close to the top, right? Kids and our spouse, our family, our parents, it'd be pretty close. That would be pretty close to the top, right? I bet you most fathers would say, my family is the most important thing in my life. Not only would Kachin fathers say that, but guys that look like me would say that. I'll give you a startling statistic, fathers. The average father in the United States of America spends 5 minutes a day with their children. I'm not talking about you're sitting in the same living room watching TV, or you're at the same table eating meals. That's not spending time with your children. 5 minutes a day, and a lot of that is telling them not to do something. On that list of 10, one thing that ought to be on there is your health should be very important to you, right? How many hours a day do we exercise? Correctly. Do we sleep? Oh, it's important to us. We know that work is important to us, but think about this, how important, when we find a better job, how quick do we say goodbye to the last one? On the list, somewhere, hopefully, your faith and God would be on that list. And if that is true, I hope your actions prove that. The question for years. If you were arrested today for being a Christian, the authorities have enough evidence to convict you. So, here is the solution to figuring out what is really important to your life. I can tell what is important in any person's life if they give me 3 things. Your calendar. Because where you spend your time will tell me what is important in your life. Let me see where you spend your money, because where you spend your money will tell me what's important to you. The third thing is, let me look at your relationships with other people, and I'll be able to tell you what is important to you. Jokingly, I've always said I could actually add a fourth. You do it as well as us. In my house, there's this big square box with magnets all over it, and behind the magnets are pictures and coloring pages that my grandkids have done. If you give me your refrigerator door, I will be your life. Psalm 119:37 says these words. We're on page 8. Psalm 119:37 says this, "Turn my eyes away from worthless things." Verse to write everywhere in your life. Take my eyes away from worthless things. 17 says these words, "Stop going along with the mindless crowd." What I'm advocating for my own church members and for you, my family, is that we have a radical reset of our priorities. You can see the wheels turning in some of your heads. I see you thinking things like, you know, Pastor Jeff, I really would like to rearrange my schedule. Saying, Pastor Jeff, I would really like to rearrange my budget. You're even saying, I'd like to spend more time with the people who are important to me. Saying any of those things and you don't go out and do it, you didn't mean those things in the first place. You don't think you have the strength or the power or the ability to do any of those things. It was one of the first verses that I memorized when I became a Christian. I think one of the greatest promises besides our salvation is found in Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. Can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And dear brothers and sisters, we can, by the strength and power of Jesus, accomplish anything. Lives of integrity. We mean and mean what we say is the important things. It all starts in one place. I want everybody to take their right finger and hold it up. Take your left finger and hold it up. Got it? I want you to put your right finger right here on this ear and your left finger on your left ear. Where it all begins is right in between your fingers. It's what you think. If you think you can, if you, in between these fingers, if you believe in the power of Jesus, you can do all these things right. He will use you to help other people. As we share the elements that represent the broken body and the shed blood of Jesus, there's no better place for us to decide that I will put what is between my fingers to real work. And that is, do this in remembrance of Him and live our lives under His power and His authority. Will you bow with me in prayer?